on this episode of The Africa Whisperer.
It was his idea to go through that process. And he was like, he's familiar with it, he's done it before, and it'll take nothing for him to do that. And he did all of that paperwork and legwork that I didn't even know how to navigate.
Hey, I'm Lika Sumba, and this is our journey across Africa, navigating the intricate landscapes of business, culture, and global influence from the African perspective. So, Wendy, I'm really excited to have you on the Africa Whisperer. I normally try to introduce people off the top of my head, but for the sake of not embarrassing myself, I'm gonna read this because I really feel
Please
that everything you've done.
Don't read the full thing.
Don't?
I beg you.
No,
Don't read the full
no,
thing.
don't worry.
Okay.
No, trust me. Okay, so I wrote something about you that I want to share, right?
Okay.
So you're an aerospace engineer by day, fitness enthusiast in the evening, and an aspiring DJ at night, according to you. I think I'm a little bit closer to becoming a DJ than you, but it's all good. You're also an
I'm
author.
sure.
You got a Ph.D. at the age of 26, the first Black woman to get a Ph.D. in aerospace engineering. You're an associate project manager at NASA. You're an inventor, an author, a wife, a mother. You've mentored 10 to 20 people that you actually meet with. You're a keynote speaker, and you've just really stepped on so many stages, and you're such an advocate for diversity and inclusion in the STEM fields. And I just think that you're like a phenomenal person. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. Welcome to the Africa Whisperer.
Lee, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for listing out all those accolades. But it takes a village, and I do truly believe that I stand on the shoulders of giants. So thank you.
And talking about taking a village, you're a proper Naija Babe. In case people
Of course.
forgot,
Of
she's there eating her
course.
yam. She's
Eh.
in it. What are you saying? What are you saying?
For sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. I mean, I think I eat more Nigerian food than anything else. Like yesterday I was picking beans to wash beans out to potentially make akara this weekend. I don't know if you've had that. It's like this like fried bean cake that you wash the skin off and then you blend it and you put some, bell
Yeah.
peppers or whatever you want, you season it and you eat it, and you can eat it with bread or like pap ogi.
Hey,
So that's what I'm going to enjoy myself this weekend with, just akara. So oh yeah, proper
you,
Naija babe.
you're making people hungry just listening.
Yeah.
Now, Wendy, I just wanted to, I think that it's so important that we set the context of where you actually come from because, more often than not, people who look like you, who are from Nigeria, they don't expect you to be in the stages and the positions that you have been. But just so people understand, were you born and raised in Nigeria? You went to school there? What's that backstory?
Yeah, so I mean, 100%, right? In that Nigeria and living there and being there and going to school that really laid the foundation for
Hmm.
for the person that I am today. And because the
Mm.
story, I told it, Lee, we talked a couple of years ago and things changed
Yeah.
just based on it's the same story, but my interpretation and understanding of it really changes based on where I am in my life. So
Hmm.
I have two kids now, and we're going through, my husband and I are going through the whole understanding the school system in America and all of that, and realizing that the foundation we had in Nigeria,
Mm.
for school, primary school, elementary school, I mean, high school, middle school was so solid, right? Really, really
Yeah.
solid in comparison to what's here versus
Yeah.
college. So university, like the academic quality for these schools, like, on the continent in Africa changes in comparison to, college and university. So schools are so much better there, but when you get to university, they're not as good.
Mm.
But here, it's the opposite. The schools aren't as great, but college is good. So,
Yeah.
living there in Nigeria, going to school, I thought I was a regular kid. We had homework, we were learning things that now that I reflect on it in comparison to what I see here, were more advanced, right?
Hmm.
Do you remember reciting
Yeah.
the times table at 3 and 4?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
very advanced in comparison to what kids here do.
Wow.
So I'm
Wow.
saying that to remind people that even though you feel like you may have seemingly humble beginnings and being a place growing up somewhere like Nigeria, you might
Mm.
be more advanced than you can imagine. So don't
Mm.
put those limits on yourself, right? Don't really
Yeah.
don't put those limits on yourself. So Naija Babe moved to Texas for college at 16, and just got thrust in and immersed into the American, way of life, academic culture, and and psyche.
Yeah. No, I really love that. And I love the
Yeah.
fact that you said the context for education in Nigeria. I find that within the continent, more often than not, the primary school and high school and that kind of thing, it's really so solid. And, you're relied, like students have to work so much harder, which is, we really have like something great going on in the continent. Now
Yes.
just in terms of the background and so forth, when you started studying at the University of Arlington in Texas, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, University of
You
Texas at Arlington.
University of Texas Arlington. You were like in the engineering classes. You would have been one of the 2 to 3 women that were in the class, and then you were also the only black girl that was in the class in general. Do you feel that coming from Nigeria, you didn't really see limitations? You just kind of saw opportunities. How did that help you in terms of just being able to go through when there was like basically no one who looked like you in the classes?
100%, 100%. And Africans, we're resilient people, right? Because we've seen hardship, Lee. We've seen struggle. We've seen suffer.
Which
even
one?
if yeah, you've seen things, and even if you are privileged, right, on the continent, you've still seen struggle. You've still, you've been around. You can live in a mansion and come and drive 5 minutes away from you, and you see poverty. So I didn't see, because again, another thing was, I went to school with people that were all black in primary school, high school, where they were all Nigerian. I didn't see color. I didn't see anything like that. And then when I went to college, and I was one of only maybe 2 black people starting out freshman year, I know I can tell I was the only black woman in my graduating class in mechanical and aerospace engineering.
Wow.
There was another one.
Yeah.
And so when you're just used to not seeing color, you just see people. And I just saw people and their quirks and all of that. And I wouldn't get those reminders that I was black unless someone did something, right? I didn't see it. I was just focused on, you know, getting good grades and getting my A's and potentially getting an internship. I was usually just focused on the next step. It was the next thing for me. But we're, Africans, we're resilient because we have no choice.
Yeah.
If you fail out, what are you gonna do? I mean, your parents aren't
We
gonna. You're not a trust fund baby. You gotta
exactly.
you gotta figure it out. So I
Yeah.
did.
And also more often than not, you're carrying so many other people's dreams on your shoulders. So it's not just about you because a lot of sacrifices have been made.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like the way you described that. You're carrying other people's dreams on your shoulders. I just got goosebumps. Like our mothers,
Yeah.
especially, just sacrifice so much, and you must go to school, and you must do this, and you just can't. It's so many dreams you're carrying that you cannot even allow a potential setback,
Yeah.
the thought of a setback or even an actual setback deter you, because you're going to be an aerospace engineer, and that's what you told your family, and that's what your family told their extended families,
I'm
and that's what
telling
your
you.
aunties and uncles around the world that's what they know. So your mom is not going to come back and
Yeah.
update all those people that you didn't do aerospace engineering again. Who you gonna? No,
Oh,
she's not doing that. You're doing that aerospace.
yeah.
Go do it.
Whatever it
So
takes.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, so you're standing on the shoulders of giants, but you're carrying the dreams of giants with you
I
as
love
well.
that. Yeah. And through all this time, I mean, one of the things that really made you almost go viral, I saw an interview where you spoke about how you never have to pay for interviews, you never have to pay for that. People just gravitate towards you, which is such a blessing. But one of the things that did kind of blow you out internationally was when everybody found out that you were the first black woman to get a PhD in aerospace engineering.
From
And
my
I
school.
From
Yeah,
your school, yeah.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
love the backstory because did you actually intend to do it, or I think that there was a change in the Obama administration which meant that you had more time to study.
Yeah, so so like I said, I like to focus on the next thing. It's the next thing and the next thing, right? So I didn't start out my undergraduate years, my freshman year, saying I'm going to get a PhD in aerospace engineering. That wasn't it. I was like, okay, I'm going to become an aerospace engineer. And when I graduate, I'm going to wear my high heels and work a nice corporate job and look cute. Dreams. That doesn't happen, right? You're in the trenches in corporate, right? So in 2009, when there was a change, when the Obama administration came in 2008, 2009, they decided to go the route of making the space industry more commercial and privatizing quite a bit of it. And so they really kind of
Mm.
shrunk down what, they felt was going to be the government's role in space, right? Let the government focus
Mm.
on more the research and development, and then the actual transportation and carrying astronauts to space or to the International Space Station or potentially visiting the moon. Let that be on, just like airlines, right? So the airspace is
Yeah.
regulated by the government, but it's airlines that carry. It's not the government that's going to take you from point A to point B. It's a private airline. That was the model that they were trying
Mm-hmm.
to work towards. And so I
Mm.
thought I was going to graduate in 2010 and start working with my bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering. But when that happened, the people that I thought I was going to work for started to retract the offers of the my previous
Wow.
set that had gotten offers. They took people that had
Mm.
offers, they had them taken back. And I was in shock because that wasn't my situation. I still had a year. So I was like, wow, that sucks. But then my school also opened up this bachelor's to PhD program that basically said
Mm-hmm.
if your grades are really good and you're really smart, you can skip the
Mm-hmm.
master's and go get a PhD and they'll pay for it.
Amazing.
So I was like, oh, for real?
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, say nothing, right? I'm pulling up, and I did that. So they paid by like a teaching assistantship. So I was a teaching assistant. I was a TA, helping students with their grades and their homeworks and projects and things like that. Basically, supplementing teachers, professors' curriculum instruction for undergraduate students. So I did that. So I basically had to work, and they paid for me to go to school, my tuition, and paid me a stipend as well. I got a stipend of how much was it at the time? Over 2K at the time. I think it was solid, right? A monthly
That's good
stipend.
money.
Eh,
Yeah.
that's good money, for as a graduate student. I was 21 at the time. So I did that, but
That's
then I
great.
also got an opportunity. I applied for a fellowship, which was an
Mm.
external thing that really just does the same for you, gives you the money, pays your tuition, pays everything, but you don't have to work as a teaching assistant. So you can
Mm.
focus fully on your research, right, and school and all of that. So that's how I was able to pay the first couple of years. My university paid the last 3 years this fellowship called the
Mm-hmm.
National Defense Science and Engineering Graduate Fellowship, administered by the US Department of Defense. Very competitive, like very
Amazing.
competitive, around the entire United States. I got that
Mm.
and got that stipend. I was able to go, the last 3 years of my PhD just focusing on research and doing what I wanted to do.
And that's just such a story. I think even like, from your book and hearing you speak and just the little bit that I know about you, it really is a reflection of the way that you are. It's almost like it's something that's instilled in your life where you consistently look at a different opportunity. You're consistently like, let me reevaluate. Let me relook
Yes.
at this. You look at
Yes.
everything through so many lenses. And I think that's a lesson that
Yes.
so many of us can learn. When disappointment hits,
Yes.
just be like, okay, what is the opportunity in this?
Just because you get a no doesn't mean that that's your I quit, right? Because before
Mm.
you quit, there's so many, many, many things you can try. I In the book I highlight this example of when I wasn't doing too well in a class with a professor,
Mm.
and he called me into we were in his office, I think, and he was asking me why I wasn't doing well, and he said,
Mm.
I thought you would be, like the Trevor of this class. Trevor was 1 year ahead of me and was like the top of the class, right? The brilliant student in the class. And it was like, I thought you'd be the Trevor of this class. What's going on? And I was initially flattered, right? I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you know me, like
Yeah.
you thought I'd be the Trevor, and that's pretty cool. Um, but I told him, I said, it's just not working. At this time, I had a 4.0 GPA. I'd never gotten a B. I'd gotten all A's in everything. And this was like my
Wow.
third year, I
Yeah.
think. And so I told him, you go through the material so quickly, there's no time for me to ask questions. And when we asked for like a special dedicated problem solving session in class, you sent your TA, and all she did was come and copy and paste questions onto the board. And how am I supposed to learn like that? I was so uninhibited. Like I said, it's just not working. I said, I'm turned off.
Mm.
The exact words I used, Lee, I said, I'm turned off in your class. God help me.
Wow.
I'm not that person. I'm not that person anymore.
Oh
But I
my
was I was
gosh.
so bold. I said, I'm turned off in your class. And so
Yeah.
he did two things. He said, he understood, but then he recommended an additional textbook for me. That was a textbook that was in the syllabus. The textbook didn't help either. So, but that was a textbook that was in the syllabus at like the top page of the syllabus. But which student is going to buy the textbook for her class and then buy additional textbooks? We don't do that. We don't think of that,
Exactly.
right? So when we're
Yeah.
struggling, we just struggle through it. So he recommended that I look at that textbook, and I went and I got it from the library. I didn't even have to pay for it. I don't know if my library
Mm,
had it, but I checked the libraries of my sister's school. My sister was in med school
mm,
at the time. I checked her library. I checked my
mhm.
best friend's library. My best friend was in the University of Houston at the time. So like I knew the libraries of people I knew more than they knew them themselves. I checked all these libraries and I got that book for
Wow.
free. I got them to rent the book for me. And two people got an A in that class, me and someone else. Because
Amazing.
I got that help. So there's so many opportunities anyway. Google, even till today, Lee, I Google everything. Everything.
Wow.
Everything.
Yeah.
If I were to start like the ways and opportunities and things I found, Googling stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I
that's a conversation for offline. But Lee, we can talk about
yeah.
that, another time. Yeah.
Yeah, but I really love that because it's this thing of like you have this personality and this drive within you where you stay curious, you consistently are answering a question, you want to know the question beyond the question, the answer beyond the
Yes.
answer, which is something, I guess it's a sciencey thing because listen, I'm not even close to that. Is like I failed so badly in science. My dad thought that I was adopted as a Ugandan father. He says, "What do you mean math and science?" He's like, "Whose child is this?" you know.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Poor
I was like
dad.
an embarrassment. Oh no, I was an embarrassment. I just it was a lot. He loved me in everything else, but come report card day
Yeah.
with this, he just was like, as a whole medical doctor, he's like, what is whose child is this? Asking people where did we pick her up from?
Yeah. Oh, but
Yeah,
but but you would
yeah,
agree that it's fascinating, and I think to some extent, even your mind even works like that. There are things that I would tell you that would
mm,
just blow your mind. I was listening to
mm,
something a couple of days ago, and I found out that when we sleep, right, when we're
mm,
in a certain phase of sleep, I don't know if it's REM sleep or the other one, our brain sends a signal to our spine that is pretty much a signal that tells that paralyzes our bodies. So we're in a paralysis state, and that
wow,
happens because our bodies, basically, we need to be able to dream and let our minds roam and wander freely. Because if you're
mm,
dreaming that you're a skydiver and your body is not paralyzed while you go through those dreams,
mm.
what's going to happen? You're going to get up, sleepwalk, go to the top of your building, and jump. So it's just so fascinating,
That's
so mind
mind
blowing
blowing.
how science and technology,
Yeah,
just even the body, like if I wasn't an aerospace engineer, I might
mm,
have gone to med school. Like I really, really thought about it.
yeah,
Just understanding how the
yeah,
body works and all of these really, really amazing things, and how powerful our God is, right?
mm,
It's just anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, no, that is so
It is.
true. I mean, just even in terms of like the work that you do on a day to day, right? Because
Yeah.
people might hear all of these things and aerospace engineer. Like I was speaking to somebody, they, oh, does she get into like rockets and does she go into space? I'm like, no, I don't think that's what she does.
Yeah. I'm not
Ask
an
if she's been to
astronaut.
space. I'm like, no, she's not. Because
Yeah.
because it's like the world has so much mystery around us.
Yes.
Most people have what the idea that we have of NASA or of space is like, oh, the aliens never land in Calabar, they never land in Nigeria, they never land in Kumasi, Ghana, they never land in Soweto, South Africa. They're always in America. We have like a like a movie experience
Yeah.
about like
Yeah.
space and NASA and everything. If you can
Yeah.
demystify that world a little bit for us, just what you kind of do, what you do at NASA for yourself in your daily role, so that we understand even on a day to day how it is affecting our lives beyond running away from aliens. I'm just going to say,
Of course, of course. I mean, I agree that it seems potentially even shrouded in mystery, but NASA does a really excellent job of putting everything out there,
mm,
especially with social media right now. NASA's Instagram
mm,
account on social media, like I don't know whoever handles that account. Someone sent me something that they had posted and asked, "Wendy, are you the one behind this account?" I was like, I'm not the one behind this account. It was a picture of
yeah,
Saturn and its rings,
yeah.
and the caption was, Saturn don't cook, Saturn don't clean, so tell me how Saturn got those rings. That was a Cardi B reference. Yes, on
Oh
the
my gosh,
official
yeah.
NASA account. There's a lot, and so I want to tell because I'll share some of it here, but I want to tell people that it's open, to just
Yeah.
look on social media, on Twitter, the website. There's a lot
Mm,
that they put out there, and then for people that are even more than interested, people that are potentially even looking to collaborate, there are a lot of opportunities. There's a space apps challenge that NASA does each year, or maybe multiple times a year, I don't know, that people can participate in, sort of like a hackathon, right?
mm,
Using data. And there's a lot of publicly available open release source data that NASA has that you can just play with,
mm,
especially if you like to write code. You just, go in there
mm,
and download and see what patterns you can identify and things that you can share. But uh, NASA is both aeronautics and astronautics, and aero is what you consider planes and drones and the things that we can see that fly, within the Earth's
mm,
atmosphere. But there's astro, that is like space and satellites and planetary exploration and all of that. NASA does both. So NASA is literally with you when you fly, and that's the slogan.
mm,
The slogan for Aero, right? From the wings of the plane and the design of the wings on the plane to the propulsions and the engines of the plane and how they're able to
mm,
compress oxygen and generate enough force at higher altitudes. I mean, to a lot of things. So I've gotten to do some really different things at NASA, some
mm,
space, some aero, and right now I am on an aero project that is looking to how to enable the safe integration of what you consider drones.
mm,
I just call them,
mm,
autonomous air vehicles, right? Things that can fly
mm,
with limited human intervention. How to
mm,
enable them to fly in our airspace. And,
mm,
UAVs, which is those autonomous vehicles, are used for a number of things from, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think in Uganda,
mm,
there was a study with either UAVs or satellites, that a research endeavor that was teaching farmers how best to water, like when's the best time to optimize yield based on when you water your crops and when you harvest, right? Because times are
mm,
changing, right? We're growing
mm,
at an unprecedented rate. We need more food for more people. There is
yeah.
some change in what's going on with our atmosphere, right? Whether or not you believe in climate change, things are changing.
Mm,
So the things that our forefathers did, to generate food for a limited number of people might not be as effective anymore. So we have to move with the
mm,
times. So from
mm,
figuring out when farmers can best plant, water,
mhm,
harvest their crops, they can optimize and improve crop yield. Um,
mm,
to even security, right? Using drone or satellite footage to understand what is happening in certain areas that are besieged by
mm,
insecurity. For a number of things, both air and space, even x-rays, right? The
mm,
imaging technology used in x-ray, when you get your teeth x-rayed, that's NASA
mm.
technology. One of my favorites is
Wow.
baby
Yeah.
formula, right? It was
Mm,
NASA funded research, right, to develop the nutrients that go in baby formula. Because astronauts food, the things that astronauts are subjected to with minimum gravity, there's a lot of research and development that goes into
mhm,
improving and looking for life in other planets, but
mm,
also improving life here on Earth. So it's some really, really cool
mm,
stuff. My day to day varies. Yesterday, I was up late reviewing a research paper that is attempting to quantify which parameters of a UAV are more sensitive to risk collision and potential
mm,
of colliding into something else than others, right? Which
mm.
parameters do you need to know better? So it varies. And some other times I get to do fun stuff like this, chat with
Yeah.
you, Lee.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And also just in terms of with your book Learn to Fly, what I really think is just so awesome about it, that it's not just for people who want to like actually fly, there's so many
Yes.
there's so many lessons, things that you can apply in your life. I mean, even the shirt that you're wearing, everything is for everyone. It's something that comes through quite strong
Yes.
in terms of who you are and your book and everything. If you can just come speak a little bit about that, because the world has opened up a lot, but in the areas of like STEM, you don't see a lot of African women or Africans in that world,
Right.
globally. And I think that people need to just know that, look, the opportunities are there, so if you can speak into that.
Yes. Yes, I think for me, it's important to demonstrate that the opportunities are there. People know this, people can find this. If you look, you will find, right? And that's it. If you look,
Mm-hmm.
you will find. And I hope people remember that. But also, what I want to really demonstrate and show with the work that I do is you don't have to fit into a specific mold, right? You may not be able to answer the questions
Mm,
figuring out how to survive on Mars, but sometimes it's enough to be able to ask the right questions. I was a curious child and I'm still a very curious person. So, yeah, no, Lee, I agree completely in that it's important to demonstrate and communicate that opportunities are there. And people know
mm,
that. And you can just Google. If you look, you will find. Just Google, like,
mm,
curious. Are there
mm,
opportunities at NASA for an international student?
yeah.
What can I do with open source, publicly available NASA data?
Mm-hmm.
Can I be an aerospace engineer even if I don't like math? Google anything and you
Mm,
see that someone somewhere has written something that could help or guide you on your journey.
mm,
But for me, what's so important to communicate, as I really try to with the book, is not just that there are opportunities, but that there isn't a mold that you have to fit in to get into a specific
mm,
space, right? You
mm,
might be brilliant at math and science, and you might be able to figure out how to put a man or a woman on the moon, or you might just be genuinely curious and ask the right
mm,
questions.
mm,
And sometimes asking the right questions and having that curiosity can propel you, can drive certain things because you get curious, you start to read, you start to look things up. You might start to draw parallels. And that's why we talked about the DJ thing. The thing with me and music in my head
mm,
is I hear a song, I hear a beat, and I draw parallels with other things. And I made a mix once,
mm,
but I'm like, that seems like it could fit into this song. And so I'm so impressed and my mind is so blown when I hear certain
mm,
compositions that DJs have made with like certain
mm,
beats or with certain lyrics. So sometimes it's in
mm,
being able to identify the patterns. And that's why when you get a degree in STEM,
mm,
you can work anywhere. I
mm.
talk in the book about um, turning down an internship offer with the CIA.
Wow, yeah.
Literally. I
Mm,
yes, I met someone from the CIA and talked and it seemed great. And I the person that I initially talked to had a major in math, a math major. And
mm,
I wondered what would the CIA want with
mm,
someone that is an aerospace engineer? But it's in that
mm,
ability to see and identify patterns. It's in that
mm,
ability to understand and prognosticate, which is like when will something go wrong? It's like, you go to the doctor and they tell you, oh, your teeth, you need to, get rid of this cavity because in a year, right? This is not you're gonna
it's
now
done.
have to have a root canal. So that ability to
Mm,
that ability to look ahead and prognosticate, it's those abilities that STEM really like doing a degree in science, technology, engineering, or mathematics really give you, right? How can I see these
mm,
patterns and parallels and use the information, the questions that I have, the answers that I answer for the greater good? How can I make a
mm,
change in something, right?
mm,
How can I use this and develop an answer, create an answer that
mm,
no one has? So
mm,
everything is for everyone and there isn't a
mm,
mold. So if you're struggling or if you're not sure if something's for you, just remember that there isn't a mold and there's certain things that you
mm.
can bring to the table independent of who you are.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I really love that. And it's even just so inspiring to me because you just have to also think like when you're saying it's not a mold, you almost have to be able to think outside of the box and to find a different way
Right.
to create your own path, right? Because everybody is here, like
Right.
God puts us on earth for different purpose, a different path, and you've got to just find your way around that. Wendy, one of the things about you, is that you really you're almost like a bridge for people in, for people in the STEM fields, and those who are based in Africa, let me say, and for people in the United States and nonprofit organizations and so forth. So I'm just from seeing a lot of your work. I'm not going to act here like, oh, Wendy's my girl. It's like, not yet, not yet. She'll cook for me soon, but not yet. But but it's like, yeah, like you really are. I mean, even from watching all of your talks, you're so passionate. Like when you're around children, when you're around students, you really are so passionate, and you have this thing about teaching and so forth. And so I had an idea, as I mentioned mentioned to you, in Ethiopia, there's a school called Labawe International Academy, right? And the students from this academy are incredible. So we're talking about like the top 1% in terms of them being at the bottom, like financially, economically, in Ethiopia, but they also are the top 1% in terms of intellect. So it's 105 students who come there. It's an international academy. It's fun. It's, they get funders and donors to be able to help them. And once they finish with that academy studying, they basically get placed internationally in different schools. So when I met some of the
Okay.
students in 2018, I was so impressed because different people go there for summer camps and so forth. So I got in touch with the school, and there were some questions.
Hello, Dr. Wendy Okolo. My name is Abdullah Salma from the International Academy in South Ethiopia. In my question for you is, what kind of personality did you have in your 18 or 17s? And did your childhood affect your today's personality?
Okay, that's an interesting question that I haven't gotten in those exact terms before, so I'm happy to answer it. I was a quiet child, and I didn't come into my own till I was about 13, right? So I was the third. I had two older sisters, and I, watched them a lot, wanted to be like them and learn from them, and they were strong and big. And I didn't talk much. So I came into my own about 12, 13, I would say. And then I developed a very sharp mouth. Like you know, I,
Yeah.
yeah, talk sharp, whatever. And then 17, 18 was like my first years in college. I was very attentive. I liked to listen a lot. And I liked to have fun, like at party and do whatever I needed to do with my friends. But because I paid a lot of time listening, paying attention, um, I think that that was a better use of my time in terms of optimizing my time. So I didn't have to spend as much time learning what they had already taught me in class, because every single thing out of my professor's mouth, I got. I paid
Wow.
it. I would not,
Yeah.
be distracted in any manner whatsoever. So my first couple of years in college, just kind of laying out the land, paying a lot of attention, and that personality now, maybe that listening or that ability to pay attention. I think God has blessed me with a spirit of discernment.
Nice.
I'm
Yeah.
typically able to discern people, um,
Wow.
intentions, and character, and that talking is the reason I'm here on this podcast today. I love to tell stories.
Yeah.
I love to explain the things I know simply enough for anyone to understand it. And I feel
Yeah.
like if I cannot do that well enough, then I have failed. If I cannot explain it simply enough, then I have failed. So the talking and the listening, I feel like, yeah, that's why I'm here.
It was,
Thank you for the
I
question,
love
and
that.
hopefully I get to meet you in person at some point.
Hello, Dr. Wendy Okolo. My name is Mihani Talaina. I am from Ethiopia and studying at Lebanon International Academy. My question is, how did you break free from societal pressure and decide to study a STEM major?
So I didn't have much societal pressure with STEM. I didn't have people, only one, and I allude to that in the book. When I was 6? Yeah, when I was 6, that my teacher thought it was funny that I wanted to be an engineer, and she laughed at me, and the whole class laughed with her, right? She thought I was a joke. And that was the only one that I can really recount in my childhood where someone thought it wasn't a good thing that I would want to be an engineer. But I talked to my mom about it, and she gave her you know how
Don't
Nigerian
try.
parents, she give her like, hey, don't that, who's that, or does she know? Don't mind her, kind of thing. So, um,
Yeah.
but generally, people weren't. They were not. They were just mildly surprised when they would hear I want to be an engineer as a young girl. They were not negative about it. They were not pessimistic about it. They were just fascinated, like, oh, okay, so you like math, and okay, okay, cool, and so they found it fascinating. I didn't have the societal pressures of, oh, you're gonna be a wife, a mom, you can't do engineering. I had support with that. I had support from my tribe, my family, my parents were 100% for it. In fact, they put it in my head. My parents put engineering in my head before I could even spell the word. So, but
I love
just
that.
in case you don't have that support, remember that you have to do things for you. If it's something you want to study, if it's something that interests you should 100% go for it. It is one of the most rewarding careers. It is one of those things that makes you feel good. You're making a difference in the world. You're doing something that you will be very successful at, especially as a Black woman. And those people are not going to pay your bills if they tell you to do something else. So do what you
Wow.
want, go for it, and you can still do whatever. It's up to you, and that's what feminism is about, right? You have the choice and the ability to choose what you want to do. I am an aerospace engineer at NASA Ames. I have a patent, so I'm an inventor. I am an author. I have multiple publications, and I'm a wife and a mother, and that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay.
I love that. And even, when you say that you being an inventor, your whole Igbo name, is it Awale? Let me, I'm embarrassing myself.
Yes.
I'm not being Nigerian. Did I
Yes.
get it right?
Yes.
I got it right?
Yes. Yes. It's Awele.
Hey, hey,
Yes.
hey,
Yes.
hey, hey,
Oh, that's
hey.
really good.
See, well, look at them, look at them. What is this? Yeah, I like the story behind how you actually became an inventor. It was through somebody that I think you were mentoring the person, which really just
Yes.
tells is just the power of like exchange, and you never know who's going to open the door. And I know you're also an advocate for people of always remembering that there are people who are going to be advocating for you behind doors
Yes.
that you may not even be able to enter into. So if you can just just share a bit of that story.
Yes, exactly. And part of it is also that discernment and judging and being able to understand and see people's character and intentions. All of my mentors and my mentees, the ones that I'm cool with and people I have relationships with, our relationships are so organically, like so organic. I have a mentor who's like a big deal that when we link up and I'm in her office, we should be chatting professional academic stuff, like serious stuff. We do that for like 5, 10 minutes, and she'll hold me my feet to the fire. Like, what are you doing? What's the update with that promotion and what's going on? But other times we talk about food, Jamaican food, exercise, cycling, skiing,
Yeah.
lifting. Like, I picked up running. We talk about all kinds of things, right? And so that's the benefit of having the most organic, natural relationships and friendships with people. The person that designed the cover for my book was one of my mentees. I was a resident assistant when we were in university.
Love it.
And she
Yeah.
did it, and she told me in exchange for that cover design, she wants some jollof rice. I'm like,
You're joking.
not kidding. I'm like, say nothing. Right. But we have a relationship. Everyone that's affiliated with that book, it's just a great relationship. So I mentored this student who is now full time at NASA on this NASA project. And he had had a patent. He'd gone through that process before with, his professor. And it was his idea and his legwork with the paperwork and all of that. So, because we did the work, we're proud of it. I've done so many cool things, but I've never thought, oh, turn this into a patent, file this, have the NASA legal go through the process of filing this as an actual patent and getting your invention like on paper and disclosure and all of that. It was his idea to go through that process. And he was like, he's familiar with it, has done it before, and it'll take nothing for him to do that. And he did all of that paperwork and legwork that I didn't even know how to navigate. And it went through. And exactly a month ago, it was like officially official. We got the like declaration and all that. And I'm seeing the names on there. And it has like my Igbo name there. And it's something I didn't even think
Hey.
about. I didn't think about, right? You start out, again, I was always focused on the next thing. Oh, get good grades, do this, do that, and graduate and get a good job. I didn't think about, oh, I want to be an aerospace engineer at NASA one day with a patent. It's good to have those dreams. It's okay. It's good, right? But it's okay if you don't have those dreams. It's okay if you don't know. Don't let anyone that tells you, oh, you don't have a 10-year plan, you're not going anywhere. No. It's okay to not know. It's okay to take it one day at a time, but every day that you take it, you show up and you do the absolute best that you can with consistency, with diligence, and with intention. Okay.
Yeah.
End of rant.
No,
Yeah,
I really, you know what? I really have goosebumps when you're saying that because it's so often everybody's like, "Oh, what's your plan? Where are you going?" And for me personally, more often than not, I'm just like, I'm where God wants me to be. As the opportunities open, I'm going to follow that path, and I'm going to get to where I'm going to get to. Because
exactly.
sometimes man makes plans, and God is laughing at us, and often more often than not, he's taking us to even greater places. Um,
Exactly.
Wendy,
Exactly.
yeah, and even just with regards to your book, just the idea, the decision to write the book, because you had never thought that you were going to be. I mean, you never actually thought you were going to be working at NASA. Number one, you never thought that you're going to be an inventor, but you also never actually, or did you actually think you were going to be an author? And what was the driving decision behind actually writing the book? Why did you feel it was so important for you?
So I started thinking about that book in 2019, I believe.
Mm,
And it wasn't even I started thinking about the book in 2019. It was that the demand for it
mm,
started to rise in 2019. The reason I wrote that book
mm,
was literally popular demand. I was getting the
mm,
same questions from people all around the world, from people that I couldn't
mm,
reach myself, from people I get requests to talk to this one student in, Singapore, and this student in Brazil, and I cannot. It would be
mm,
great to give every single individual person my time, but I can't do that. It's not, I
mm,
can't mentor everyone. I can't speak to everyone. And sometimes when I get a group,
mm,
a group of people, I would get asked, "Can you speak to a larger group, or is that too much? Like, is it okay if they make it 1,000 students?" I'm like, yes. The more, the merrier. Make it as many. You can solicit questions from 3 to 5, but I'm not it only has to be 10. Oh, it only has to be 15. Get 5,000 of
mm,
them in an auditorium. I'm fine with that. you know
mm,
so it was popular demand based on the requests that I kept receiving, the questions I kept getting, and I was like, okay, I want to put everything, and I held nothing back in terms of what I think people need to be resilient and successful, particularly in STEM. I held nothing back. I
mm.
put everything in there that I will tell my children. I'm making my children read that book. I'm going to make my children read
I
the book
like
just
that.
because I'm not
Yeah.
going to remember every single thing that they need to know as they navigate. But it's like, hey, here's
Mm.
your guide. Read it and
Guide,
remember
yeah.
that you have it. Yes, read it and remember that you have
Mm,
it. So it was really popular demand based on requests and questions. But then all kinds of people read the book and loved it, right? The person I used to work with at the Air Force Research Lab in 2010, 2011, 2012, who is a retired engineer, that worked at the Air Force and knows the people that
mm,
designed, the jet engines and things like that. He read it
mm,
and emailed me this long review of how much he loved it and how it resonated with him,
mm,
and the things that it reminded him of. It was very nostalgic for him. This is an older
mm,
white man who found that
mm,
he could relate to the book and find the different pieces of it nostalgic. So really, everything is
mm.
for everyone.
Everyone. Yeah, definitely. I
You
see
know,
what you did there.
yeah, yeah. But long story short, it was
Yeah.
popular demand. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And even while you were writing the book, I know that you're running out of time, but even while you were writing the book and everything, it was written over the period that you were on maternity leave. And also, something I had wanted to touch on was just your relationship with your sisters and with your family. It's so obvious that your like, as you describe it, your tribe and the people that surround you are so solid. But even at the time when you were getting to finish the book, you lost your dad, you had a newborn, and and I wanted to know if you would care to share that story, because I think sometimes we are going through so much disaster, and every one of us goes through devastating things, but it's like even then life is still moving on. So if you can just navigate how that whole experience was for you, and just the drive to actually finish and to keep going with the book even when you were dealing with life and death literally side by side.
Yes. Nothing has humbled me like birth
Mm,
and death.
mm,
Nothing has humbled me. The thing that has humbled me the most is death. It has
mm,
caused me to question and face my immortality. It has caused me to be
mm,
cognizant of how limited and how fragile our lives are, and how fragile our bodies are. Beautiful and amazing. I talked about God's omnipotence in our creation, but our bodies are still
mm,
so fragile. My father
Mm,
was killed by a drunk driver.
mm,
Literally, he ran into his car and killed him. And when I, got the information of what happened, basically his aorta, like the large blood carrying vessel, was ruptured from, I mean, from that kind of impact. And I'm like, we're so fragile, right? Our bodies are so
mm,
fragile that
mm.
it's very humbling to think. And birth humbled me too, the birth of my two kids, which was a beautiful experience, right? I'm one of those moms that, oh, no epidural, I want to go through it. And I did, right? I went
Hey.
through, I felt everything.
Oh,
I felt everything. I'm one of those, like, what, it's maybe the sciencey part of me too. I want to feel everything. I want to
yeah.
understand. I want to, it's natural. So I went through that twice. And going into this year, because
Mm,
my second child was born last year, going into this year, I was telling myself, there's no time, just do it now, just do it now. So the
mm,
website got set up, everything. So that's why people are able to reach me more easily this year, January, all of
mm,
that. February, a month after that, I was working on the book, was pretty much done, having it with an editor and everything. February, a month after, my website goes live, my father is taken tragically from us. I was exclusively
mm,
breastfeeding my second child
mm,
and dealing with this grief. And it was
mm,
horrible. It
mm,
was horrible. And I started out this year saying there was no time. That accelerated it for me
mm,
because the pursuit of perfection is really one of our biggest enemies, right? Waiting till this thing is absolutely perfect before I release it into the world.
mm,
So when I lost my father, I was like, I'm not waiting for perfection. It's done. The book is done. It's good enough. I'm releasing it into the world. And I released it and I dedicated it to him because one of
mm,
his favorite things to say was, when the going gets tough, the tough get
mm,
going. He would say that
mm,
to me every time. I mean, during COVID, when I
mm,
was in meetings, because work increased for a number of us with the ability to work remotely
mm,
and all these never ending meetings. And so when he called me, I'd be like, Daddy, all these meetings, I'm working. And he's like, it's okay. It's okay.
mm,
When the going gets
mm,
tough, the tough get going. He would say that over
mm,
and over and over and over and over again. And
mm,
when the going got really tough for me, the tough
mm,
got going this year. I put the book out into the
mm,
world. I dedicated it to him, and it's been really learning to fly ever since then.
mm, mm. I really love that. And thank you very much for just, really sharing with that. I think that it's so powerful. And, I just do hope that from this conversation, people realize that as amazing and as gifted and as hard as you've worked in so many things, you literally are just like the person next door. Like you're the person next door. You're the person who is just doing what you can and trying, because I think so often the world just puts people up there and they seem like, oh my gosh, you've got to be extra special, to be able to do certain things. And sometimes you just have to do it and put it out in the world. You just have to go for
Exactly.
it. Yeah, which is something
Exactly.
that which is one of the things that I really did get from your book. You really have this thing where you're just like, look, just do it, just try, just kind of go ahead with it. And
Exactly.
I think that's so powerful. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the worst you can hear is a no. The worst you can hear is people don't like it. And,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
had beta reviewers review the book before I put it out into the world, and their feedback
Mm,
just told me it was time. In fact, one of them, when I got her review and what she thought about it and how
mm,
much she enjoyed reading it, she's retired now, worked at NASA, the former chief of
mm,
staff and director of partnerships, and said she was going
mm,
to add it to her repertoire of, of books to give to people, and to encourage people to read. I got that feedback from her and I looked at my
mm,
husband and I said, I knew that I was making a book that was useful. The intent was to make a useful book, a book that would help people, a
mm,
book that would help them
mm,
succeed and be resilient. What I didn't know, that I made
mm,
a book that people would like. And I
mm,
asked him, I was like, babe, what if they like it? What if they like it? What if they
Oh,
actually like the book and enjoy reading it? What if it's not just a
mm,
useful book? What if they like it and it turns out people like it too? So, my friends were
I
messaging
love
me
it.
like, "Oh, I've been laughing since." Someone said, "I can't put this book down," like, because it's funny, it's useful, it's inspiring, and it's also designed to equip. It's not just designed to inspire and say, "You can do it." It's more like, "You can
Mm,
do it, and this is how you do it."
yeah. And now, Wendy, just in closing, so because you're a DJ, please, what is it?
In my
If you're, you're
dreams.
you're at a party, right? In your dreams, but dreams come true.
Mm.
So you're at a
Amen.
party, right? Let's just pretend like everybody's there. Tiwa, Burner, everyone. DJ Uncle Waffles, everybody is there at this party. Black Coffee, Wiz, David, and there comes DJ Wendy. Chuku, 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 like you're ready. What is the song that you're opening with? Where are you taking us? What is this journey?
Whoo! What is the song that I'm
What
opening
is this?
with?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Oh my days, this is so tough. Let me see if I can get some inspiration from my Spotify, because I'm tempted,
Because all of your
because
people are at this party.
yeah, all the people at this party, oh man, that's such a tough one. I don't know where I would start, but it would be a journey. It would be a
Yeah.
journey that would mix Fela and
Uh,
some Michael Jackson and
nice.
some early Afrobeats, like the Tribesmen from like way back,
Yeah.
and some Kanye and some Kendrick
Yeah.
Lamar. We need that Kendrick in
Yeah.
there.
Hey.
And some of Drake,
Hey.
right?
Like,
Oh, it would be such a journey that would fuse so many things, and I can hear the lyrics in my head, some of the, so like there's one that plays consistently in my head. There's that, all I want to say is that they don't really care about
you
us.
really care about us.
So all I want to say is that they
All
don't
I
really
want to say
care
is that
about
they
us.
don't really care about us.
All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. Who them be? Where them dey? I said, all I want to say is that they don't really care about who
Hey.
them be? Where them dey? I said, all I
With
want to
a,
say is that
I
they
like
don't
that.
really care. I just like, oh my goodness.
Listen,
Where would I even start? It would be a fusion. It would be a fusion.
what would you say your ultimate purpose is in life? I know that you speak so much about not even that you speak so much, but it's like it's so obvious that God radiates through everything that you do. So your faith is
Amen.
obviously really strong. Your relationship, we didn't even get into your relationship with your sisters. From what I can tell, it's really dope. I have that kind of relationship with my two sisters. I'm always the one they're rescuing, but it's all good.
Yes.
you know
Yes. Let them rescue. Let them
yeah.
help us.
Yeah, they always rescue.
Yeah.
Just this week, I called her. My sister lives in Abuja. I said, Yvonne, please just do this thing. She didn't even ask me. I
Yes.
said, Yvonne, just do it. She didn't even ask me questions. She normally lectures me. She just said, when? How? I said, just do it now. That's all. She could hear my
Yes.
voice. She's just like, let me not suffer this girl anymore.
Yes,
God
see,
bless
that is
sisters.
me. Oh my goodness, that is me. That is sometimes there was one time they looked at me like, how how are you what how would you survive? You don't know what the air pressure and I said, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Help me. Help me. I don't know. Help me. And so they really, really lucked out, because basically my family was able to find we were able to find and lucked out. We all lucked out. They were able to find someone that just took on all of that. And that someone is my husband. Like, I don't have to
Love
be a
that.
responsible adult with him. I don't.
Yeah.
Trips, car, lights, everything. I don't know. I would just crush your life, but I would do like in the home with food and keeping track. He allows me fully be Wendy Okolo, because he does the things that I would have to
Yeah.
do. It'd have been more work for me if I was single. I would have to figure out my car
Yeah.
inspection, gas. I don't put gas in the car. I just get in the car and go.
I like
I it would have been harder for me. So my
better.
sisters, yes, my sisters, like for sure, just did all of that stuff, and then they're like, okay,
Yeah.
husband, here you go, take her, and it's
Yeah.
it's it's worked out. It's worked out. It
Yeah.
surely has. Just
Yeah.
done. Future plans. I have another book in my head.
I like that.
And I did a kind of a demo of the talk for the second or maybe third or fourth time, but the first time in person, in San Francisco, to a room full of brilliant women in tech. And I received a
Love it.
standing ovation for the first time
Oh, yeah.
last month. And that was
Mm,
what told me it's time. That book is
mm.
time. So for me to write that book, I need to have another baby. Because
Hey.
that maternity leave is really but who knows, maybe I'll try to find some time and write it, but because maternity leave is great because I don't have NASA work, but I'm able to.
Mm,
My kids are they're scheduled, like they work with schedules.
mm,
They're very, very scheduled children. They're easy to put in a schedule. Let me put it like that.
mm,
So everything's on a schedule in my household, and babies get on schedules too when they're a certain age. So
yeah.
so that's what I have in mind. Maybe more patents. I have more ideas on that as well.
Mhm,
There are other things I want to do.
mm.
So like
I
I'm
love
never
that.
bored. I'm never bored. There are just so
Yeah.
many things that I should be doing. There are just so many. And
Mm,
purpose is an interesting one. Purpose is interesting because I think it changes, and we're still, as humans, I try not to marry myself too much to the idea of it's this one thing. And you kind of saw that with this conversation, right? It's not this is who I want to be in 10, 15 years.
mm,
It's not. It's not who I
mm,
want to be. It's not I don't know. It's this is what I'm doing excellently right now,
mm.
and I have other
Yeah.
ideas. But I think it's important for me to represent the the wholesome, the complete Wendy, right? That is the aerospace
Mm,
engineer, but is also mom and wife that
mm,
really enjoys those things too. I really do. I really
mm,
enjoy the things that I do. Going to pick up books from the library for my 3-year-old boy, or
oh,
returning books with him, or teaching my 1-year-old head, shoulders, knees, and toes,
oh,
um, or nudging my husband for date night because, babe, are we gonna do date night soon? It's like, sure, say less. When I got my
oh,
patent announcement, I sent him a message. I said, babe, check this out. He's like, wow, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, are you gonna celebrate me? He's like, yeah. This weekend. I'm like, no, I want Whataburger now. I want a burger. He's like, okay. And he went and got me my burger. He went and got me my
I
burger.
love
It's like,
that.
that's what I want. So I think for me,
Yeah.
it's important to paint that whole picture. I don't like
Yeah.
if you like STEM, you're a nerd and this is all you have to do at the expense of all
Mm-hmm.
these other things. That I
Mm,
don't consider that wholesome or godly. I think that,
mm,
God has put us here on earth, but it's not just, now, not everyone's going to be married with kids, and that's okay.
mm,
But I,
mm.
I don't agree with that. I'm going to shirk that in exchange for this intentionally because
Yeah.
I have to be this aerospace engineer.
Yeah.
No, no. I don't agree with that. I enjoy
Yeah.
being a family person with my sisters, my
I love
mother,
that. Yeah.
my father before he passed, God rest his
Yeah.
soul, my husband and my children.
Mm,
I enjoy that.
yeah. I love that. And it's just such an example of like, I feel like it's, your life really echoes living in, like you're living in alignment. I don't know how to explain it, like how I
Mm,
feel it, but your life really echoes living in alignment, because sometimes when you, not sometimes, but when you're in the right place with the right people, everything just has a
yes.
way of shifting in. God is amazing like that. Like the way that he makes it possible for us to breathe, things can just shift in. And I love that because I think with one of the things that hinders a lot of African women or African girls from going forward is they're like, if I do all of this, I'm never going to find somebody who's going to want to marry me. If I do this, I'm never going to be seen like that, or there's this idea like, if you're like a powerful woman, you can't be this other thing. And there's also that whole flip side, and I love the fact that you really are, outside of the amazing work that you do, you also as a person, you really reflect that, look, this thing is possible. The holistic kind of life, it's actually possible. The limitations are only based pretty much on who we are as individuals, and what we believe and what we think is possible, and the people who surround us more than anything. So that's one of the things that I love about you. I don't know you much, but like, you just come across as being super quirky. So I think that that's mad cool as well. I think
I
that
think
you're super quirky. So
yeah, yeah. I definitely got the last part of it, but I agree completely in trying not to place limitations on yourself based on who
yeah.
will want you or who won't. And
Yeah.
I believe that God really perfects things that concern
Amen.
his, his beloved, right? He
Amen.
perfects things and makes them so much more beautiful.
Amen.
Just I could go on, but
But
he's
yeah.
he's perfect. And so he
Yeah.
perfects things, and I'm grateful for his blessings.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely content. I'm a
I love
genuinely
that.
content person. I don't
Mm.
want too much. That's another thing. I'm content. And the girls that are worried about if the man would want them or if he won't want them, my husband calls that politicking. Like, just it's too much politicking of the just be
Yeah.
in compliance. That's what we say, on our anniversary we said cheers. Cheers to thank you for being in compliance. Like, just all this
Uh,
politicking of is she this, is she not doing this, did she cook, is she a domesticated woman, she
yeah.
relax. Relax.
Yeah.
If she didn't cook
Yeah.
yesterday, she'll cook tomorrow.
Yeah.
If he didn't come home on time yesterday, he'll come home tomorrow. If you looked at that girl
Uh,
yesterday, he won't look at her tomorrow. Relax. Just
relax.
just chill, but
What
just
is it?
relax.
Just
Just
breathe.
relax. Just the politic, politic too much. Okay, he said sorry. He said sorry. Let it go. Let it
Uh-huh.
go.
I love
Give him a
that.
hug.
Yeah.
Go and fry plantain. It's okay. It's okay. Like, just relax. Just it's okay. It's okay, because life will
All
throw
good things
real.
end in food. Yeah.
Yeah, life will throw real stuff at you. It'll throw real stuff at you. Don't politic over the
Yeah.
little things, man. Life will throw
Yeah.
real stuff,
Yeah.
So relax. It's
And
okay.
when you just the final question, I promise. Obviously, from the time when you started studying in the US till now, the way that the world has seen Africa has evolved a lot, and a lot of it has got to do with the creative and culture sector, and it's got to do with the fact that some of your favorites, Burner, and those kind of people have really been blowing up and showing the world about African culture. It's kind of cool, and especially in Nigeria, you guys, along with South Africa, are the countries that are kind of driving this change of how the world sees Africa. Do you feel it differently now? Like, before, were you always proud of being like, I'm Nigerian? And now are you more like, I'm Nigerian? Like, do you feel it
Yeah.
more? Like, is it in your bones more?
Yeah, so I think with me and my personality and attitudes, they remain the same. I think I've always been a bit more reserved with certain things. People identify that I'm Nigerian African through my name, my accent when
Yeah.
I share it, but primarily through
Yeah.
music. Because I'm
Yeah.
a music head, I play African music when but I share it with people that know me personally, right? So even at work, right, I
Mm.
was telling them I had got allergies and I didn't have allergies before because I'm Nigerian. So work people, they know, right? People that know me know it comes out. But I don't, I may not be as vocal with it publicly, but I'm generally not as vocal with a lot of things publicly. That's just me. However, I've seen that shift in the way we're treated, particularly
Mm.
by Black people in America.
Yeah.
Now it's
Yeah.
more accepted to identify
Mm.
as being someone that was from the continent of Africa, like that can trace their time to being
Mm.
back there recently, versus
Mm.
honestly, when I first moved here, we didn't get that kind of love and treatment. We didn't.
Yeah.
We,
Yeah.
Black, African, we did, we
Are they
didn't.
lions? Did you sleep in a
Yeah,
hut?
yeah. I'm telling you, I got
Yeah.
the way these kids that laughed at my accent one time, and I was friends with them. They laughed at me one time in undergrad. I don't know what I said, and they burst out. These guys burst out laughing.
Yeah.
And my feelings were hurt. I was like, "Wow, y'all gonna do me like
Uh,
this?" Like I thought we were cool. So, but now it's more
yeah.
accepted. It's more accepted.
Yeah.
And I've I've always nothing has changed with me because that's been who I was before it became cool.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna eat my fried yam. I'm still gonna, when I can't go to Nigeria, I'm still going to speak
Mm.
with and do what I can to aid the people on the continent. And
Yeah.
I'm still going to be African, and that's it.
I love it. She's
That's
still
it.
going to be African. Thank you
That's
very
me.
much, Dr.
That's it.
Wendy Awale Okolo. Hey, let me say it again. Thank you very much,
Ah,
Dr. Wendy Awale Okolo. I'm really just, yeah, I appreciate your time, and I just love, watching all the amazing thing happens, all the amazing things that you're doing, and everything is just like, it's so awesome to be able to watch from the outside in, and to also, just being, you being so gracious with giving a little bit of insight of who you are as a person. I really hope that this, inspires somebody and people pick up the book and also get some of the merch, do the thing, do the right thing. Because I think, yeah, it's really, especially for people within the continent, like, yeah, you're definitely one of the chief flag bearers, the Oga flag bearer. Thank you so much, Wendy, for your time.
thank you, Lee. Thank you for having me. You are just too cute, and we have to talk some more. We need to do better, Lee.
Definitely.
Evolution doesn't see what is working well. Evolution only comes through because life is happening. And so at the time, that abrupt end of Studio 53 also kissed the beginning of my family life,